So everyone's talking about the Republican National Convention, but to be honest with you folks, I've not saw a Republican National Convention. What I have saw is a MAGA meet and greet. And apparently it's not the same thing that the mainstream media is watching, because I have paid attention as to how they're framing this, and we're not seeing the same thing. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I have noticed the one thing that's not at this event are Republicans and Republican ideas. I've noticed that the one thing that's definitely not there is the Republican Party of my grandfathers. And Marjorie Taylor Greene put out this tweet because MSNBC showed notable Republicans not attending the RNC. You got George Bush, Mike Pence, Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, Paul Ryan. Marjorie Taylor Greene says because they are no longer Republicans. Yeah, these people are lifelong Republicans. Marjorie Taylor Greene is not. She is someone who is part of the MAGA movement that has hijacked and completely taken over the Republican Party. And if you want any more proof of what I'm saying, here is Mitch McConnell. I mean, the be all end all of the Republican Party being booed completely out of the room. Take a look.
Madam Chairman. Madam Chairman, the Commonwealth of Kentucky proudly cast 46 votes for the next president, Donald J. Trump.
And folks, I got to be honest with you, I do not feel 1 ounce of sympathy for Mitch McConnell there. I would have been booing right along with him, to be honest with you, because that guy has sold out more times, and he has completely sold out the Republican Party and pretty much ended it. After standing up and saying that Donald Trump was responsible for the actions on January 6th and should never hold a public office again, he went on to throw his endorsement behind him and just give what little shred was left of the Republican Party, he just handed it right over to him. And so I don't feel sorry for the guy getting booed. But speaking of getting booed out of the room, Matt Gaetz took the opportunity to heckle Kevin McCarthy and tell him that if he was up there speaking, he would be getting booed out of the room. Take a look.
Are you speaking? Are you speaking tonight? Or one person? No. Hey, you're not. If you took that stage, you would get booed off of it. You would get booed off the stage.
So yeah, that's the type of spats that's going on at this MAGA meet and greet, while the media tries to paint it out like that they're all crying for unity and they're all about peace and love at this point in the game. But that's really what they're all about right there. And folks, I don't know what is up with Matt Gaetz right here. I truly don't. But I promise you, no one is going to look at him and say, wow, Matt, you look younger. That doesn't happen. You know what? I'm 44 years old. I know what my trolls are going to say. I look 64, but folks, I earned each and every one of these gray hairs. I've earned all of the wear and tear that I have. And so there's no way that I'm ever going to be up there with some kind of Billy Mays dye job looking like that. It's pretty ridiculous. But they're trying to paint this, the mainstream media is trying to paint this, that, oh, the Republicans are now calling for unity, and they're trying to reach out and grab people who are moderate and on the fence. What they're essentially saying is that they're trying to gather and grab people that haven't been paying attention, because if you were paying attention, you've already made up your mind in this election. And if you're paying close attention, you will notice that the Marjorie Taylor Greenes of the world, she still gets in her jabs on trans people. Take a look.
For far too long, the establishment in Washington has sold us out. They promised unity and delivered division. They promised peace and brought war. They promised normalcy and gave us Transgender Visibility Day on Easter Sunday. And let me state this clearly. There are only two genders. And we are made in God's image. Amen. And we won't shy away from speaking that simple truth ever.
And then you had Ron DeSantis, who took an absolute pounding from Donald Trump, was laughed completely out of the room, take to the stage, and what does he do? He takes a jab at DEI. Take a look.
They stand for DEI, which really means division, exclusion, and indoctrination, and it is wrong.
Now, I know what a lot of the critics would say on this one. They would say, well, Brando, you're just picking out the negativity and you're not focused on the unity message that MAGA is now portraying. And what I would say to you is no, the mainstream media is doing the exact opposite. They're focusing in on a few little clips they can find to say, hey, look how sweet and nice MAGA's being these days. But they're not showing you who they really are. They're not showing you that this snake has not changed its stripes at all. MAGA is still MAGA, no matter how many times NBC tries to convince us otherwise. Take a look at this.
But what we have not heard this whole week, all the rally favorites, the greatest hits about the 2020 election being stolen. No one's mentioning it. Political grievances, weaponizing government. Nobody's mentioning it. Nobody's calling the January 6th rioters patriots or hostages. All of that seems to have been excised from what the Republican Party is trying to portray here on this stage. It is notable.
It's very notable, and we are told that the Republican National Committee did urge some of these speakers to tone down their language in these speeches, and so clearly we're hearing a reflection of that in these speeches. It represents a shift. It represents, to some extent, what we heard from former President Trump after the assassination attempt against his life, which is that he ripped up his speech completely, that he has rewritten his speech. I interviewed Eric Trump today. He says his dad is finished with that rewrite. He has said it will be a call for unity. Now, we're not exactly hearing that in every speech, but you're absolutely right, Savannah. It is so notable that these speeches are toned down and devoid of some of that typical red meat that you hear from former President Trump and from his allies.
To expand beyond just the base, they'll need to get past the base.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to give MAGA brownie points at this point in the game if they suddenly stop saying that the election was rigged, if they suddenly stop calling the J6 terrorists, if they stop calling them patriots and hostages. I'm not going to suddenly give them a pass for that because they're the ones that have stoked the fires ever since January 6th. They're the ones who have went out there and continue to spread their fear and their propaganda this entire time. So just because they played nice on the main stage for a few minutes does not make me breathe a sigh of relief and go, oh, no, they didn't mean it. They're going to be good. I don't buy into that for 1 second because the rest of us are paying attention to people like Peter Navarro, who went out there and did play one of their greatest hits, which is, if they can do this to me, they can do it to you. Take a look.
If they can come for me, and if they can come for Donald Trump, be careful, they will come for you. If we don't control our government, their government will control us. If we don't control all three branches of our government, legislative, executive, and judicial, their government will put some of us, like me and Steve Bannon, in prison and control the rest of us.
And then old Jim Justice, governor of West Virginia, he definitely missed the meeting on guys tone it down because he says if Trump loses again, they need to become unhinged. Take a look at this.
Bottom line to every single thing that's going on in this great country today is one thing. We become totally unhinged if Donald Trump is not elected in November.
And to everyone at NBC who's like, oh, MAGA has changed, they're making us feel so warm and fuzzy inside, you need to take a look at what Marjorie Taylor Greene said right before her speech. Because maybe she toned it down a little bit. Maybe they pulled out some spots of her speech. Maybe they took out some words here and there. But listen to what she was saying before she got up there.
U-word that they seem to be rolling out, that unity is what we need in face of what happened on Saturday with regard to President Trump. Now, we were saying, we don't want to unite with people who want to kill us, people who want to indoctrinate our children and turn them against us, people who want our movement basically quashed, done, thrown in prisons, throw away the keys. What is your take on this push for unity in terms of who it's coming from? Do we want to unite with the people who are pushing it?
You know, I remember when Joe Biden took office, he came out with this unity message, unify, unity. And then the Democrats proceeded to rip our borders wide open and actually create an illegal invasion into our country that's murdering Americans every single day. And then they turned the Department of Justice against us weaponizing our justice system against people that protested the election on January 6th. No, we're not unifying with that. There is no unity with that. And the Democrats have a long ways to go. If they ever truly want unity in this country, they owe America an apology. They need to absolutely drop all these charges against President Trump. They need to rein in their weaponized justice system. They need to release these political prisoners, every single one of them. Release the political prisoners. They think that this assassination attempt was fake and staged.
So you heard what she said. There's not going to be any unity, folks. That's not what MAGA is about. They may have told Marjorie Taylor Greene to tone it down a little bit, but that's how she really feels. That's what she was really thinking. If she had her a speech wrote out and they did a little editing on it before she walked out there, that's how she was feeling before she got up and made the speech that she made. And that's how they're going to be feeling going forward. We cannot sit and fall for this, folks. And when people says, well, this might bring in some swing voters, this might bring in some moderates, let me explain to you how that will happen. They're talking about people who aren't paying attention. People like us are paying attention every single day. You guys are tuned in to what I do, and I truly appreciate you guys for being here. And I'm tuned in to everything, and we're paying attention, and we're talking about this on a daily basis. There's a whole lot of people out there who aren't, and maybe there's more of them than there are of us, but they're not paying attention. They just flip on the news every now and then to see what's going on when big events like this happen. So if they turn it on and they see that, you know, MAGA's playing nice for the moment, yeah, it may for a minute make them go, well, you know, yeah, maybe Trump ain't so bad. They may think that for a second, but we got a long ways to go before this election. And MAGA has plenty of time to show us exactly who they are. And we have plenty of clips from their MAGA meet and greet to remind you of how they truly feel about things. So while it may win over a person here and there, it's not winning over anyone who's been paying attention. Anyone who has been paying attention to this clown show ever since Donald Trump came down the escalator knows just how much is on the line come November. That's why we're talking about it. And I'm not going to sit here now and give MAGA brownie points if they decide to play nice now. Project 2025 is still real. It's still there. It's still what they intend to implement on day one. All of their past quotes, everything they've ever said into a live microphone can be pulled up and examined again. Every leaked phone call, every leaked audio, every leaked video, they're still out there. We still can see these people for exactly who they are, and we can still point and say, that's what they are. That's what they stand for. Just because they had a moment where they realized, oh shit, we better act nice, that doesn't mean anything at this point in the game. For those of us that are paying attention, we realize how high the stakes are come November, and that's why we're talking about it. And we're pointing this stuff out because we care. We're pointing this stuff out because it's not normal and because we don't want it to become normal. And that's what the mainstream media is doing. They don't ever point these things out. I guarantee the mainstream media is not going to spend a whole lot of time focused on the fact that these people put ear patches on in solidarity, very cult-like. They're not going to talk about all of the people that's went out and got all these ridiculous-looking tattoos ever since Pennsylvania. They're not going to talk about those things because I guarantee you they're sitting there going, well, if we talk about that, then that will be us inciting violence, and that will be us engaging. No, that's you pointing it out. That's your job. It is your job. If it's raining outside, you're not supposed to take two people's. If someone comes in and says, hey, it's raining, and someone comes in and says, hey, it's not, your job is to not hear both sides. Your job is to look outside and see if it's raining or not. And that's what we've been doing this entire time. We've been trying to point out, hey, guys, it's raining, okay? It's freaking pouring outside. Are you not paying attention to what's going on? So to all the moderates and independents, swing voters, whatever you want to call them, if they ain't made up their mind at this point in the game, they were never paying attention. But what you got to understand is whether they pay attention or not, their vote counts the same. If someone goes to the polls that never engages in politics, but once every 4 years, that vote still counts exactly the same. And if they go because they saw the mainstream media do this little, gloss over and talk about unity and love coming from MAGA, if they vote for that reason, that vote's still going to count. If they're totally misinformed, uninformed, or just downright stupid, that vote is still going to count. That's why, folks, we have to stay focused, and that's why we have to get out there and vote, and that's why we have to stand behind Joe Biden right now, because he's on the side of democracy. We're on the side of democracy. We may not always agree with one another. We may not always see things the same way. That's okay. That's allowed on our side. We don't have to follow the leader, but we do have to realize what's at stake. And if Joe Biden is our nominee come November, you can sit back and complain all day about his age or complain about his speaking pattern or whatever you want to talk about. But we have the receipts to show you exactly who MAGA has been every step of the way. And don't let the mainstream media fool you into thinking for 1 minute that this snake suddenly changed their stripes.